Hi everyone, it's Lieutenant Commander SamsonStrengthSystems calling. I'm actually here at the YMCA. It's our monthly fitness event, and I'm here to talk about something that's on everyone's mind, the core. However you want to call it. You might call it the midsection, the anterior abdominals, six pack, the core, whatever you want to call it. It's something that people think about. First order of business. Everyone has a core and everyone has abs. You just might not be able to see them. The first order of business is to get your diet and your conditioning program straight and ready to go. But that's not for the scope of this discussion. We have about 10 minutes to get through a whole variety of exercises. And my topic of discussion today is to give you the most bang for your buck with the most amount of exercises that you can do for your core. Okay? So let's get started. I'm going to give you an overview of 5 basic core movements, and within each of the 5 clusters, there's going to be a varying degree of intensity for each one of the movements. I tried to give you a top 10 list, but it's impossible. There's just way too many core exercises to do, and the fact of the matter is, I do each and every one of these throughout probably a month time span. So there's a lot here. I'll try to get them done in as fast a motion as possible. Have a variety of equipment here, but we have a lot of this access at our Central Delaware gym, and if you don't have access to it, don't do it. Figure something else out. The final point, if you're not comfortable with the motion, don't do it, and ask either myself or one of your unit health promotion coordinators for assistance. So let's start off with the lowest level of intensity, and the basic movement pattern is called a conventional crunch. Alright? So, here's what it's going to set up like. Conventional crunches. Familiar with them. Basically, we're moving the upper body to either the knees or the chest, hands behind your back or on your shoulders. I prefer on my chest, so you're alleviating some of the neck strain, and you're simply up, down, up, down. Okay? Breathing is critical. Exhale, inhale. If you want to add some intensity to that, put your legs up, try to touch your toes, down, up, down, up. If you want some added intensity to that, whether it's a dumbbell, a plate, whatever you want, right here, added intensity, up, down, down. Again, you're trying to activate those core muscles. That's our basic floor pattern, ground movement crunch. I have a note page here, you guys, because I have so much stuff to go through. You want to make it a little bit more difficult. I'll step out of the frame here for just a minute. Everyone's familiar with this. This is the Swiss ball. You do the same thing on the ball. Right here. The key with the ball is you want your hips level, you want your midsection flat, not straining with the knees, but up and down and up. Try to activate that core, up and down. Okay? Alright, so we're moving right along. That's the conventional crunch, phase 1. Lowest intensity, easiest to do. Part number 2, remember this, spine stabilization. Okay, the abs are intended to protect this right here, our lower back, from any sort of injury or strain. We have a whole girth of musculature around here intended to stabilize our spine. So how are we going to do that? Looks like this, a plank. Part 1, we're probably familiar with this, is you set up right here. The key point with this is that you're not in a camel position, you're not in a field position, but rather you are trying to maintain picture-perfect form, and you hold for as long as you can. You want to add some intensity, you do what's called a bird hold, meaning try to lift one leg in one hand. You maintain that for a while, switch, or do it in push-up position, switch, and hold for varying levels of time. You can also do, if you follow me over this way, everyone is familiar with the TRX equipment. If you're not, we have one in the Central Delaware Bay gym. If you need help setting it up, I can help you with that. You can do spine stabilization moves using the TRX. Getting into this piece of equipment can be challenging, but once you get the hang of it, it's no big deal. So, same thing, spine stabilization. We have a plank. This is a plank, except now your feet are free to move. You want to move your feet, now you can go ahead. Crunch, crunch. You can conduct a pike motion. Pike, pike. You can do some twists. Twist, twist. You can do what's called a pendulum, to the side, to the side. You can do what's called the body saw, extremely difficult. Keeping yourself in plank motion. Extend as far back. And I'm starting to huff and puff because that's a difficult exercise. So, that's using the TRX piece of equipment. Spine stabilization, number 2. We're moving right along. We've done a lot of the stuff in the front of our body. We have a lot of stuff going on here. Lateral motion. Let me show you how to activate some of that muscle. We can do a lateral plank. This would be a lateral plank. Key point, head, shoulders, one straight line, like so. Hands up, hand behind your head. If that's difficult, on your knees, same form, same form. If you want added intensity, right here. If you want added intensity, add some motion to it. So you're right here. As you try to come down, and up, down, up. Any sort of motion is going to create motion and perturbation that makes it difficult to keep that going. That's the lateral side. We're going to keep going with lateral. If you want to make some more motion patterns with that, same idea. You set up, plank, but now you drop the hips. Down, up, down, up. Guaranteed, within 2 or 3 reps, you're going to feel that thigh tighten right up. And finally, for our lateral motion, we have what's called Saxon. I don't know where it came from. Some guy named Saxon. Side bend. 2 dumbbells, 5, 8, 10, 12 pounds. You're not going to need much more than that. Simply right here. And you bend to the side. And to the side. It looks extremely simple. It looks extremely simple. But believe me, you're going to feel that right there in no time flat. Alright. So come a little closer, just so we can make sure you're hearing what I'm saying. We've done crunches, spine stabilization, lateral. We got 2 more to go. The next is a reverse crunch format. The standard crunch moves our upper body towards our hips. Reverse crunches move our lower body towards our upper body. How are we going to start that? We follow me over here. Reverse crunch looks like this. A bench or on the floor. Reverse crunch, simply lift your hips up, vice your shoulders. Up, down, up, down. If you want to add a twisting motion to that, you can twist the leg. Twist, down, twist, down. We can do that on a Swiss ball, but before I show you that, here's a highly advanced thing called the dragon flag. Same idea, extremely intense. Lift up. That's called spine stabilization as well as reverse crunch. We got about 3 or 4 more minutes. Bear with me. We're almost done, folks. I'm trying to give you as many different things as you can do. Finally, the reverse crunch pattern can be taken to a hanging position. If you follow me over here. This would ideally be done on a pull-up bar or some other sort of bar. This will work in a pinch, but you can do, again, very intense version, I call it the windmill. Make sure you have a good grip and make sure you're not going to slip. Extremely intense activity. And that is your reverse crunch patterns. Finally, we're at our last cluster of exercises. This is called anti-motion or metabolic conditioning. Believe it or not, we're going to be doing a lot of motion, but in doing motion, we're actually challenging our abs to resist motion and thus protect the spinal cord. You've seen these things before. They also cause a significant elevation in heart rate. Great for metabolic strength and conditioning. First thing you want to do is grab something like a 5 to 10 pound plate or a dumbbell. Small weight is all you need. And I have 3 different patterns. I'm going to call this an eye swing because it's in the pattern of an eye. You're simply doing this as fast as you can. You notice that as you throw the weight overhead, this has to lock down to keep yourself from toppling over backwards. Anti-motion gets the heart rate up. It's fantastic. Number 2 is what I call a V, and then a V swing. Same thing, right here. Notice that you're making sure this does not allow you to do this. It's anti-motion. You are right here. And part 2 is what I call the C swing. You're originating the motion from your hips. Upper body by keeping your core stiff. 2 more things and we're all done. You've seen these before? We now have a landmine in our gym, courtesy of Chief Warrant Officer Resto. Thanks very much, Gil. Gym, this will work in a pinch too. We've shown these before. Notice that this is staying stiff. The hips are creating the motion. It's going to elevate your heart rate and your breathing pattern. And finally, if so equipped, find a 5, 8, 10, 12 pound medicine ball. We're going to make some noise here. This is called the fun part of training. Again, anti-motion, highly metabolic. Here's what it looks like. Or alternatively, try that 20 times. And you'll look like this. Alright, come on in for the close. Real quick review, we're just about out of time. 5 motion patterns, remember those constructs, within each one, varying degrees of intensity. Conventional crunch moves the upper body to the hips. Spine stabilization, those are your planks. Use of the TRX in a lateral or a front dominant position. You have your lateral motion, overhead, side planks, with the hip drop, with rotation. You have a reverse crunch, which is actually lifting the hips toward the body. You can do that with some twists, on a ball, on the bench, with weight, dragon flag style. And finally, you have your high velocity. We call it anti-motion because, in fact, while it's a lot of motion, we're using our abs to keep the upper body and the spine stable in a metabolic fashion. Did I miss some stuff? Probably. You're darn right I did. A lot of stuff out there. Did I try to give you the most amount of ab exercises that I do in a given month? Yes. There's not one exercise over here that I don't do. You incorporate them into your workout in a 2 or 3 day per week pattern. Pick 1 here, 2 there, and just rotate through. You'll be all set up. And don't forget, diet and conditioning are key. Because you may have a 6-pack underneath a layer, but until you get rid of the layer, you're not going to see that stuff. So, until next month, Lieutenant Commander Sam Stevens, Sector Delaware Bay. Thanks for joining us or watching, and I'll see you next time. Out.